Hey guys, of course in this video I have to recreate a scene from the new The Last of Us series on HBO. I've made a couple pieces from the original video game in the past and I've been absolutely loving the show, so I thought this scene would be perfect. It felt so much like the game, the atmosphere felt a lot like my kind of style, and it's such an iconic scene for me because it's right before they open the door and walk out to see the view of the city for the first time for us as viewers, and it's just so epic. And I love the dialogue there, just the dynamic between Ellie and Joel and Tess. So anyway, I wanted to recreate it, so here it is. I used my liquid latex technique and some weathering here to just start dirtying up the walls and really make them like they've been abandoned for 20 years. And I've built out this little corner of the room. I think it was pretty large in the show. I just wanted to capture this corner though, and I 3D modeled and printed a bunch of the furniture pieces and started adding them in. This scene also feels a lot like a scene from my favorite video game of all time, Final Fantasy VII, with the roof kind of just falling apart and the sunlight coming down from it. I thought this was so dynamic and so interesting, and this is the type of thing that I like to play around with and really try to recreate with lighting. Mr. Inspector absolutely thought these were his and wanted them back. I just can't get over the level of detail that they've gone into creating the world for the show, the characters, the infected, and the buildings. I mean, it's just so incredible. I chose this scene because of all the reasons I said before, but also because a lot of the scenes in episode 2 were just so incredibly detailed and enormous. It would probably take me months to build, and I would never make it. But that won't stop me from continuing to really enjoy watching what they've created for us so far on the show, and I really have a lot of excitement going forward to see what they do with this down the road. Drop in the comments what is your favorite part of this series so far and what you hope you see them do in the future. For the broken mirrors, I decided to print the frame, and then now I'm gluing some pieces of actual glass. They're microscope slide covers that I kind of broke into shards. And then I'm going to use some matte varnish on those to make them a little foggy and kind of stand out like they're old mirror pieces. These little chairs I also 3D modeled and printed. A lot of the time for this build was actually spent just in my software 3D modeling a lot of these pieces. And that's what you don't notice when I'm showing all of these printed pieces, how much time it took in the preparation. But there's also a lot of files that you can find online that you can download and print without having to model yourself when you're trying to get started. There were a whole ton of vines coming in and coming down the wall, as well as electrical wires and things. I really didn't go very detailed on the ceiling because I'm not planning on showing that a lot, but I wanted the vines to come in, and I'm obviously going to do some lighting effects down through that ceiling. So I wanted to have some broken up, areas where there's going to be shadows where the light is streaming through. And I kind of just continue to build up some of this vegetation over time here as I continue the build. Of course, you always have to add little bits of things. So some of these were just papers. I added little tiny pieces that are just left over from other projects. And then I went on to start gluing all over on the floor to add just a layer of dust and dirt and stuff. Obviously, there's going to be quite a bit of dirt that's gotten in because in the show, there's a whole bunch of grass and vegetation growing right up in the middle of it. So I laid this down first just as a base, and I'm going to start with some static grass next. But right before that, as this is drying, I'm going to go in and use my rust paint from Dirty Down on some of these areas, make a lot of rust streaks. I mean, the place has just been decaying for decades. There's going to be all kinds of rust and things, and so I'm kind of splattering that all over some of the metal surfaces, and I love this paint because it just makes such an easy, quick effect. I used 2 different colors and lengths of grass here to make a little bit of variation, and then started adding in little plants and bushes and some flowers as well. And then of course I had to glue the mirrors in place, and then after that I had to dirty everything down with my brown and black pigment powders like I always do. I left this for the last step this time. Then I set everything up to film this thing with some fun lighting. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Last of Us show so far and my piece recreating this scene. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see what I've got coming in the next couple months. I actually have a lot of really exciting things that I can't wait for, so I'll see you then.